Hello, everyone. In Angry Asian Uncles First, this is Vic doing the introduction for a change because Reynolds at 2 a.m. mode and he's sort of out of it. Welcome to
Oh,
our show. We're so happy to have you back. I'm with my co host,
I'm Reynold. Hello, everyone.
and we're very delighted to have a wonderful guest on the show today, Cosmos.
Hi, thanks for having
Welcome,
me.
welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Cosmos, before we get started?
Absolutely. My name is Cosmos. It's not the name I was given when I was born, but it's a name that I've given myself. I'm from Wales in the UK. Um, I'm an EFT practitioner, which I might talk about a bit. And I'm also a student shamanic practitioner. I work with energy healing and emotional regulation. Um, because, before all that, or rather most importantly, I'm also a mum to an 11-year-old autistic son, and I'm a single mum now as well. Quite recently became a single mum because of just all the pressures really that come with parenting. Um, Parenting, especially an autistic child. So, yeah, that's me in a couple of sentences.
Wonderful. I'm sure he's very lucky to have you by his side. You have a lot of similarities with Reynold, actually.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
I'm also a single parent to an autistic child who's 9 years old. So the age is not that far off.
Oh, is it a boy or a girl, your child?
Oh, boy, boy.
A boy as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, you two have shared that similarity. And so today, I hope that through our conversation with you, maybe we can pick up some pointers about parenting, about energy healing, about your views on life. Every time, it's always very mind expanding for both me and Reynold. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Oh, you're so
definitely.
welcome. I'm so excited to share about it because the reason I mentioned the work that I do as well. It's because I wouldn't be doing that work if it wasn't for my son. Because, like I was saying before we started recording, once I had this child in front of me, all the unhealed parts of myself became glaringly apparent. Um, Everything that I didn't like about myself was being reflected back to me on a daily basis. And what I realized was I wasn't really capable of teaching my son how to regulate his own emotions because I didn't know how to regulate mine. And then I realized that nobody had ever taught me how to regulate my emotions, and so started a journey of healing, really, for myself, and I guess for my son, really, because the first few years were just so messy. They're still a bit messy now, but the first few years of parenting were really messy for me because, like I said, I wasn't regulated in any way at all, and I was coming from a wounded place, I guess. I was parenting from a wounded place, as somebody with a wounded inner child, maybe with a bit of a victim mentality. And yeah, I wouldn't be doing any of the things that I'm doing today if it wasn't for my son really being that catalyst for change in my life.
Yeah, what parenting isn't messy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's basically the mirror principle that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Reynold always
reflection.
likes to say that he actually learns the most from observing his son. So like we all oftentimes like to think that we're the ones who have something to teach our children, but in his case, he observes that is actually him learning a lot by just observing his son.
Yeah,
So I think that
that's
mirror
true.
principle really is a powerful subject that parents should be more aware of.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And also sort of the catalyst motivation to get better. I mean, Cosmo's saying the same thing. Our kids sort of turn a switch on ourselves as parents to be something better, because now we're responsible for a living, breathing human being, and sometimes our old ways or whatever the reason, the way we're brought up, it's it's may not be the best way, or the person we were may not be the best person. So we really want to become that best version of ourselves for our children.
Yeah, also Cosmos, to your
Absolutely.
point, right? To your point about um, how our children basically reflects our inner hurt, our own inner child. I think more and more parents are finding out that they have a lot of emotional trauma that they have to unpack, that they have to heal first before they can be good parents to their children. So I think more and more of us are finding that out, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I think this generation of parents is, well, for me, I can only speak for myself, but this has been all about kind of breaking cycles and going against old patterns, like trusting my intuition of how to parent my son versus how I was parented, how my parents think I should parent, how my in-laws thought I should parent, and going with my intuition because having that baby there and feeling that feeling of unconditional love, I've never felt anything like that before. And it was like, wow, so this is what life is about. And then just wanting to do the very, very best for this child and love this child unconditionally as the child, loves me. And then finding myself unable to because of, learnt behavior, emotional wounds, and I found myself treating my son in ways that I really didn't want to because I couldn't regulate my emotions. I couldn't control myself at times, with shouting and things like that. And then the feeling of guilt afterwards. It's just an emotional roller coaster. It really, really was. And I actually made the decision to go against, all of my family, and I decided to actually homeschool my son because I could just I could just tell, he wasn't diagnosed autistic until a few years ago, but from a very early age, I could tell that he didn't like loud noises, he didn't like crowded places, he didn't like other kids. He still really doesn't like other kids. He much prefers grown-ups. And so yeah, I made the decision to homeschool him. And going back to what you were saying before about children being our teachers, I've learnt everything because of this, because having to be not just a mum but an educator, as well as all of the other roles that we play, has enabled me to learn things that maybe I learnt them in school, I don't know, but one thing that comes to mind was learning the order of the planets in the solar system. That's something I learned with my son, learning all the names of,
Wonderful.
yeah, all the dinosaurs, but so yeah, it's been an amazing journey, where I've always put his or I've always tried to put his emotional health and his mental health above everything else, above my own actually, which has resulted in a bit of burnout. But yeah, so my son is definitely my greatest teacher.
I can't begin to tell you how many times this topic has come up in our podcasts.
I know.
Over and over
Very
again,
kind
each
of
guest that we
thread.
have on, we
Yeah.
would, right, Reynold, we would
Yes.
somehow, one way or another in the conversation, talk a little bit about what Cosmos just brought up. It's like, I can't
Yes.
begin to tell you how many times it's come up.
Yeah, I think it's a trending topic or something, at least for our podcast. We didn't even intend for it to be, but it just somehow everyone that comes up, we talk a little bit about the younger generation, how to bring up kids, how we, even just personal stories about ourselves, how we bring up our kids. And um, so we're doing the same thing here in this episode with Cosmos, um, in talking about just again, how do we, you know, how do we raise our kids, basically? Well, so I really thank her for this message right now. Again, uh, I'm taking notes right now because what she said was, something I really struggle with too. The when you was talking about even your parents, right? Like Cosmo's parents or in-laws, or everyone has this idea how we're supposed to educate or teach our children or raise our children, but everyone forgets sometimes the parents knows best, right? They don't really give that power to the parents. Like, oh, everyone has,
Yeah, absolutely,
by the
absolutely. Yeah.
books, by the books, you need to do this. Back in the day, we need to do this. You got to do this. But so it's really encouraging to see Cosmos saying, taking the reins and saying, no, I know what my child is going through. I see it. I'm gonna I'm gonna help my child by such as going to homeschooling and whatnot, because she feels like she knows her son the best. So
That's
that's
right.
the
Yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
that's right.
So yeah. So really encouraged by it because I'm always torn by, everyone giving me the input of what I need to do as a parent, like what I need to do, and it almost seems like even I am the parent, and then yet everyone has all this input. It just makes me seem like I have no idea what to do. Like I have no capability of raising my own child. Yeah,
Yeah, they make you look bad.
yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Uh, so yeah, so Cosmos, yeah. So that I sort of personally want to learn more of how that evolved into your work, because you're saying um, your work is also something you got into because of your child.
Absolutely, yeah. My son, and I think all kids really, is incredibly sensitive. He senses energy. I mean, I believe we're all energetic beings anyway, and he gets a sense of people from their energy. That's one of the reasons why I'm separated now from his dad. Like he just didn't feel good around his dad. That's a really long story, but it's all to do with the energy that he picks up, and whether he feels safe or not. And
Oh,
and that makes sense to me. And and that's, I think, as well, with parenting as well, like we're not really encouraged so much to trust our intuition and to trust those gut feelings that we get, with regards to what we should do for our child, or how we feel around a person. But for my son, doesn't go to school. He hasn't really been conditioned, if you like. So he's really kind of free and open to all of that. And like I said, I was trying to find ways to regulate my emotions, um, and to work through some of my stuff. And I tried talk therapy, and it was nice having someone to talk to once a week, but I didn't really feel like anything was moving. And someone said
Hmm.
to me,
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Please go on.
someone
Yeah.
said someone said to me, you might need to do something physical as well, to release what's trapped in you, trauma or whatever. And they didn't tell me what to do or where to go, but this thing called EFT, or emotional freedom techniques, came into my radar, and it just clicked with me. Basically, if you don't know what it is, anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's where you, really, to put it um, easily. It's where you tap on different acupressure points of your body whilst naming how you feel. So, for example, if I was feeling a bit anxious on this podcast, I would tap through different points, just saying, oh, all this anxiety. Oh, worried I'm going to say something silly. Oh, I don't want to look silly. So that's I'm tapping on my face. People probably won't be able to see that or hear that, but so yeah, emotional freedom techniques. So, and what that does is the acupressure points that you tap on, basically, they are points along what's called the meridian system, which it's our energetic highway, if you like. So, say for example, I have a traumatic memory from my past, and I've never worked through it, I've never processed it. That memory is going to be trapped somewhere in my energetic highway as energy. And if I've got quite a lot of those, which I've got my fair share of them, um, what these what this trapped energy can do, if it's left in there long enough to fester, it can present itself as mental or physical issues. Um, so, what I'm doing by tapping and naming how I'm feeling or working through an event from the past is I'm tapping into my body's energetic system, the same one that's used for acupuncture and acupressure. I'm letting my brain know, okay, we're working through this. It's safe to work through this. And I'm letting my body know that this energy can be processed and released. Um, and I started doing that to help myself. And actually, it's something now that my son and I can do together. So, as an autistic child, his emotions can be supercharged sometimes. And when I first started tapping, I thought, oh, there's no way he's going to start doing this because like he couldn't tap actually. Um, but then one day it was when we were trying to get to sleep and we couldn't get to sleep and I think we were both a bit stressed and then he just started tapping and I keep doing it. I know no one can see me. He started tapping on the acupressure points because he'd seen me and heard me doing it so many times. And that's when I realized, okay, now finally I'm passing on something helpful. I'm not passing on my trauma and my unhealthy patterns. I'm finally passing on something helpful. My dreams come true. I am helping him to regulate his emotions, not by instructing him, just by modeling a behavior and some actions. So yeah, that was really the start of the energy healing with the emotional freedom techniques.
Makes absolute sense to me because, we're from the East. We're Asian uncles.
Right.
Of course.
So all
Right.
about pressure points, meridians. We're into all of that, because
Right.
when we go
Yes.
to a Chinese doctor, basically that's what they do. They
Yeah.
either
They.
massage our pressure points or do acupuncture, and then they
Right.
explain all the meridians to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
talking to uncles who get what you're saying 100%. Yeah, we understand.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
lot
I'm,
of.
I'm in the right place.
You're in the right place. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That's the difference between East and West. I feel that the Eastern sort of ideals they believe in this acupuncture or these pressure points and stuff like that. Not only in like healing, but also I recall growing up just watching even like um, those kung fu movies or something where they attack pressure points and you immobilize them. I was like,
Oh yeah.
well, these pressure points are like it's very versatile. They have different uses. You can heal, or you can immobilize, or you can or basically you know uh, get basically attack someone or something. So there's like a defense and offense and everything. So it's like yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Cosmos, this is part of our psyche from when we were kids, it's all over the place.
yeah, it's everything. So yeah, I really resonate with what Cosmos is saying about the pressure points and the healing aspects of it.
Yeah, I even remember when I was younger, Uh, a friend of mine took me to an energy healer, which basically did the same thing for me. They would tap, they would leave the room, and then come back a few minutes later and tap on something else. And, obviously I was a little bit bewildered. I was like, what's going on here? But then, the results speak for themselves, right? I mean, if you're feeling better and if you're healing, that's all the proof you need, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely. And it was, for me, it was a way to reduce my stress levels. Like it's scientifically proven to lower cortisol, which is the stress hormone. But it enabled me to lower the stress levels so that I could actually think clearly. Because for a long time I was just running on stress, and having and being in that kind of fight or flight adrenaline charged mode, and that kind of spirals into not sleeping, and then that leads into more stress. And that, as I'm sure you know, is going to lead at some point to some kind of physical illness. Like you can't survive like that. So yeah, the tapping was really the beginning of me being able to tune in to, my back into my intuition, back into my thoughts, to really decide what was best, for me and my son. And like I said, the best thing for us was to actually be separated from his dad. And ever since I started tapping, everything got better. And it didn't happen overnight, but when I look back now on how I felt, before I started tapping, it was almost like there was no way out. Like I was just trapped in this situation where everyone was unhappy and I just felt awful all the time. And then since tapping, learning to tap on myself to help my son, and then deciding to go and do the training so I could become a practitioner, so I can actually start helping other people with it. Um, it's been an absolute life-changing experience, really.
Do you complement the tapping with other techniques, for example, meditation or journaling or maybe even diet, some herbs? Do you complement any of that with anything else?
I definitely use guided meditation as part of my service, if you like. Um, I will, for example, say if a client was to come to me with insomnia. So I would recommend having a session with me once a week to tap through it, because we wouldn't be really tapping on the insomnia. We have to find out what's behind it. There's something behind that, there's a reason why that person can't sleep. It could be a memory, it could be a fear, but there'll be something behind it. So we'll tap through that, and we'll try and tap through, if we can, access and process that memory. But as part of that, I would definitely recommend guided meditations, which I would create myself, to help them sleep. And going back to my son, every night at bedtime, after we say our prayers and we do some tapping, and then he has a guided meditation to the magical cat forest, because he loves cats. So it's not a recording. I do it live every night. So we travel across space and time, and we land in the magical, mystical cat forest, where I ask him to engage his senses, to see and to reach out and touch the tree. And then he snuggles down to sleep with all these cats every night.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
Very,
Wow.
very
Yeah.
lovely. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
so
That's
that's really
amazing.
where, oh, sorry, that's really where I think work, I've never really been in a situation where my work and my life were just so interconnected, and it's in it being one and the same thing, if that makes sense.
That's how you know you're on the right path, right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
In the right direction. The universe is speaking to you. Uh, and then what I also want to know is so back to the idea of negative energy. So when it comes to an autistic child, sometimes we were saying you were saying like sometimes the old ways of well, I should say this. For me, it was a discipline. I think in a past episode, I was talking about discipline as well. Because growing up, I was disciplined differently, right? Well, the only Asian way of disciplining, and it's not always the best way to go about things, but it did train us kids to sort of uh, listen up, follow directions, or you're going to get smacked, right? So that's not something sort of constructive when it comes to an autistic child, because sometimes they can't control themselves, or they don't even know what's going on, and that is not, that to me is sort of negative energy. So how do you go about when it comes to the to disciplining? I mean, I'm using the term discipline, but you know, maybe there's a better term for it. But I'm trying to say, when your child is not doing what he's supposed to be doing, or how do you go about that aspect in raising your child?
Oh, great question. Glad you asked about that. I found out quite early on that discipline does not work with my son, and I've heard it doesn't work with many um, autistic or neurodivergent children, and I had to really rethink because like in my mind would kind of replay, versions of discipline, how I've been conditioned to think that a child should behave and how to treat them when they don't behave in the way that I think they should. And I had to really unlearn all of that. Going back to what I was saying about, about unconditional love, and it's about, am I going to be coming from a place of fear or a place of love? What do I want my child to be? How do I what do I want my child to see me as someone to fear, or someone to feel safe with? And that's, going back to what I was saying about being a single mum now. For my son, if he can't feel safe with someone, he's got nothing. It's all about for him, it's all about feeling safe. And I've always been his safe place.
Right.
Um, so if I if in the times where I have been harsh and have been tried to discipline him, what I effectively do is I remove his safe place, and who is this? Who is this woman? This isn't my safe place. This isn't my loving mummy. So I had to really rethink my idea about what is acceptable behavior and what isn't. I've had to really stop caring what anybody else thinks when we're out and about, which has been really, really hard. I can say that there was a time where I cared more about what people thought than actually about helping my son. So, for example, if we were out and my son was having a meltdown, my first thought was, oh my goodness, what's everyone going to think of me? Rather than how can I support my son? I'm not ashamed to admit that. I don't think I'm the only person who's felt that way. But I just had to really let go of what acceptable behavior is and isn't, and kind of understand that for my son, um, it's kind of like a different reality. Trying to let him know trying to explain to him though that certain behaviors aren't acceptable outside of the home, that's a whole different challenge. But I would have to say now at this point, there isn't any discipline at all. there is an encouragement to reflect on his actions, how how he feels after doing something, how he the reaction that he might have solicited from other people. So yeah, I think it's really as well about accepting that we all have to learn from mistakes and letting him make those mistakes, and seeing what the outcome is and reflecting on it and being like a guide for him rather than an instructor. So being like a companion on this walk of life and asking questions like, do you think that was the right thing to do? Rather than saying that was wrong. And just giving him a chance to learn and interpret from his own actions and remembering or realizing that just because he's a child, he's no different to me. Like he's not less than me because he's younger. A child, like what I realized was a child is equal to an adult. We're all souls, just some of our bodies are a bit older than others. So I hope some of that makes sense. But yeah, there's no disciplining here. There's encouragement to reflect.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, soul
definitely.
equals soul.
Yes.
Of
Yeah,
course.
thank you for being so honest. Yeah, because
Yeah, I really
I did,
appreciate your
yeah,
honesty. Yes,
yeah,
same here.
yeah, because I feel I really I was doing the same thing too. So I'm one of those people. When I first started out, if my child was acting up in public or anything he was doing, whether it's even when we're with family or inside the house, doesn't even need to be a public place, and he's just doing his thing. And a lot of times I'm okay with it because I'm like, I don't care about if he's being like noisy and doing playing around with the toys and being noisy in the living room where other people are like, oh, why are you so, especially like the old grandpa, oh, you're being too noisy. It's like, so, but for me, I was like, oh, I'm okay. But just because someone else uh, is saying, oh, he's being too noisy, you need to uh, keep him in check, like and then that's what I do. I'll try to go and keep him in check because someone else thinks of something. It's this His action is displeasing to someone else. Where in normal, kids will be kids, right? Kids will play with their toys, and sometimes they're a little bit noisier than they should be, but they're really not harming anyone. It's just someone else is displeased by his behavior, and then I go over and it's a reaction, right? It's a knee jerk reaction that I go over and try to uh, correct him, quote unquote, correct him, where he's really not doing anything wrong, but just because someone else thinks he's doing something wrong, I feel the need to correct him just so I everyone's happy, right? Trying to please everyone else is where the only person that really matters, like Cosmo was saying, is really our children. Yeah.
Well, I'm that third party you guys can ask questions to, like, like in that kind of situation, let's say you're in a restaurant
Yeah.
and your child starts making a lot of noise and starts misbehaving. Yeah, you can treat me like that other person eating at the restaurant. You can go ahead and ask me what I think.
Okay. All right, Vic. What do you think with the other kids acting up at the table next to you?
Well, it's a knee-jerk reaction too, right? Like,
Yeah.
first of all, I can't even begin to understand what it's like to raise an autistic child. So I commend you guys for that. It's really not easy because, I know several friends who have autistic children as well. So it's not my first time seeing this. So I'm quite aware of some of the challenges that a parent has to go through with an autistic child. So yeah, I'm aware of that. And if you ask me as a third person what I think about a situation like that, first of all, I would be like, oh wow, that's really noisy. I'm trying to have a meal, right? Because it's a public space,
Right.
so it gets dicey, right? So some of the questions come up would be like, yeah, well, it's a public space, so everybody has a right to be there. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge the fact that yes, most people when they're having a meal, they would like to have a conversation on their table, right? At their table. And you can't do that if the other table is making too much noise, right? So it's like, where does your freedom begin and mine end? It's a very dicey question. So, like, what I've seen with some of my friends, the most effective methods is when their child starts getting a little too restless, they just take them out to play. Like, as a father or the mother, they're like, oh, well, I don't really have to eat everything right now. We'll just go outside for a walk, and then if there's a park nearby, they'll go for a stroll, let the kids play, expel some of that energy. Like Cosmos said, we're all energetic beings, and autistic children just happen to have more energy, right? So you just have to find an avenue for that energy. And for us, other people, I think it behooves us to be more understanding and patient, right? And there's always a way to work things out. I just think in our society right now, it's people don't communicate enough. So, first could be because we're embarrassed to speak up because you'd be seen as that person who's like, oh, you're so inconsiderate because, like, they're obviously trying their best to raise an autistic child. Like, how dare you speak up? So, like, sometimes you just don't want to speak up, right? But at the same time, you know, um, I think we just have to kind of like be considerate of each other, but not everyone can be like that, obviously. And so the best solution really is just to, yeah, it is what it is. So, like take your child out and go for a walk and get them, an ice cream or something. And then 20 minutes later, if I'm with my friends who have that autistic child, we save portions for our friends. So then make sure when she or he comes back, he has something to eat, or like if we're really done, we'll just like order something for takeout. And then so, she can go home and have a nice meal. It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for me, it costs money. Like, okay, let's go to Target. Let's get you a toy, so you go fidget with your toy, and you stop bothering me or something. Or actually, or we could also give him the iPad. He's sort of glued to his iPad now, so it's sort of as a drug of choice right now.
Yeah, same for me.
Right,
Even for non-autistic children. Yeah.
right,
It's the easy way out, right? Like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, I'm too tired today. Here, look at the
right,
iPad.
right, yeah, yeah.
Not the best
Just
solution, obviously, but sometimes it's like a cheat day, right?
right. But it's effective at times, right? Uh, oh, but yeah. So because yeah, back to also the other message Cosmos was saying, the fear factor. I also look at that as myself. Like I can instill fear. Everyone, as parents, we could all instill fear into our child. But how long would that last? For me growing up, yeah, fear was instilled into me. Like if I do anything wrong, oh, I fear of the punishment from my parents. But when you grow old, I mean, when you get older, when you're an adult, when you're big and strong, you're like, what can you do to make me feel fear anymore? Like, yeah, like really nothing. Like, a spanking doesn't work, right? You could like I have everything. I have my own everything. Like, what can you take away from me? It's like nothing, because everything now that I have is I got it within my own means now. So like uh, at that at this time, it's like, oh, I don't fear my parents, right? Um, so what I'm trying to say is that when the fear only lasts for so long, and once they get to a certain age or a certain point that they stop fearing you, then they start disobeying you, right? I guess that's common within when they get to like teenage years. I think Vic can sort of because I think your son's like a teenager now, right? So when they
Yeah.
get
I
to
guess
that
I'm the
age
most
where
experienced one here in a
they,
way.
yeah, when they get
So
to that
Cosmos,
age,
how old is your son?
He's 11. He's 11 going
Okay.
on 55 to be honest. He's I think he's my what, I don't know if you've heard the expression like an old soul, but sometimes I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's older than me. Like he has a lot of fascination for old stuff, old black and white movies. He likes silent movies.
Mm.
He loves all that sort of thing. He seems to have like this like ancient wisdom within him. And sometimes I have to stop myself asking him for advice because he just really seems to know a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying in one of our earlier episodes that as Asians, we kind of sometimes look at things in terms of lifetimes, because it's quite acceptable in our society to think in terms of karma and reincarnation, right? Like you have several lifetimes. It's not just this lifetime. You've been here before. And by that logic, you're going to come back again. So like sometimes we look at things in terms of lifetimes, So like what to your point about what you said about your son, yeah, for sure. And also sometimes we think that this particular soul maybe came down specifically to be in an autistic body to gain that experience. Like this is just one of those experiences that this soul wants to have for itself. And the challenge, and it's not, by the way, it's not an accident that he chose you as his mom, right? It's like he knows that this is the path that he has to take, and this is the support group or the family unit that he has to be in for this experience in this particular lifetime. So, but back to the point about, yeah, I guess in a way, because I have a 15-year-old going 16. In some ways, I have the benefit of hindsight. And what Reynolds is saying is true. Like fear is a temporary solution, or the strict disciplining is it works for a couple of years, but you keep that up, and by the time they get to their teenage years, you're going to have a lot of problems because they feel like, oh well, I'm more powerful than you now, both physically and in their mind, they know enough about the world to not give a crap about what you think, right? So that's really not recommended. Like, looking back at my own son and how he grew up, just make sure that they know that you love them. There are always going to be times when you're going to have friction with each other, right? You're going to have to do some disciplining. You can have times when you have to explain why things are good or bad and how things function in society in this world we live in. But for the most part, I think if they know that you love them unconditionally and you're always going to be there for them, they generally turn out okay. So that's what I think. That's my advice.
Oh, love
Right.
it.
Very
I
good.
love that you mentioned about the choosing each other. Something I wasn't sure if we were going to speak about it today or not, but I totally believe that we do choose this life in the spirit realm, that we do choose our families, and it's all prearranged before we get here. But on that journey in, we forget all about that. So that's amazing you brought that up, because that is, a deep belief that both me and my son share. So we always thank each other for choosing each other. And with regards to that kind of sort of past life and ancestral stuff, when you're talking about the fear, what was coming into my mind was, anything that I put into my son, like was put into me, those ideas of discipline and stuff like that. It's all patterns that he would have to unlearn in the future, if you like, in the way that I've had to unlearn these patterns of discipline, um, and fear-based parenting. So everything that I do is going to become a pattern, for my son to repeat when, if and when he has children. So we all of us carry, the trauma and the patterns of our ancestors. It's in our DNA. So something that I believe quite strongly in, in this healing journey, is that, not just healing my own stuff, I'm healing all the stuff, that I can from the past, which then makes, I guess, for, a brighter future, or a more loving, more kind, and healed next generation, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we're all in it for a better future for our next generation.
Well, Reynold, like I know you're Christian, and even if you don't really believe in a lot of the, what we talked about and reincarnation and then all this generational karma thing,
Mm.
even if we use different terms for those things, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be metaphysical terms. Even if we just talk about like just not passing on a lot of the mistakes that our forebears passed on through the generations, right? Hopefully it stops with us. And because we I think the challenge for parents in this day and age is how do we parent ourselves, or I should say reparent ourselves, because we went through so much hurt and trauma trying to heal that, inner child inside us, right? So we have to, number one, first learn how to reparent ourselves and then parent our own children. So it's a lot to take in. It is a lot to
Yeah,
take in. It's a
it
big
is a lot.
challenge. Yeah. So I think, yeah, I mean, no matter what term you use, is basically just that, we try not to let the mistakes continue.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we carry a lot of baggage as adults. And so that's why I said, you know, that's why I'm always referring to learning from our kids because our kids actually have less baggage than us. We're giving them the baggage, to be honest, right? So it's a self-reflection to see that this is how it is when we see our kids. This is how it is when you don't have baggage, right?
I think they have innate wisdom. I think that's what you're
Yeah,
trying to say. They have
yeah,
innate wisdom that we should definitely learn from and pay attention to. And then for the practical day-to-day things, because we have more experience in that regards, I think that's something that we can help them with. Like certain practical things like, well, when you're crossing the street, for example, your innate wisdom is that we're all energetic beings, and therefore we continue. But we try to preserve this physical body as much as we can, right? So the light is red. Please do not cross the street. Practical things like that, right? This is what
yeah,
we can help them with. Our wise beyond their years children, right? These old souls, as Cosmo said.
yeah, yes, yeah, definitely. And like Cosmos, I always ask my kid for advice too, especially because I'm terrible at making decisions. As in, I'm very forgot the term, but like say at a restaurant, like I just want everything on the menu, and so I asked my son, like, okay, so what do you want to eat? And he's very direct. It's either, and he's just like, oh, this is what I want. I just want French fries and a burger. That's it. I was like, oh, really, really? That's it? There's so much other. No, I just want a hamburger and fries. Oh, that makes it easy. Okay, because
What about your
I'm like,
son, Cosmos? does does he help you out whenever you guys go out to order?
He always has the same thing. He's very much like that. He has these set foods that he likes. I'm just happy that he eats them, So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good. Yeah.
right,
uh, and he'll only go to certain places. Like he has set foods that he likes, but he likes them to be like he loves margarita pizza, but it has to be from the Italian restaurant. It can't be it can't be a frozen pizza. Do you know what I mean? It has to be from the actual Italian restaurant that they're really,
Yeah, he
really
likes what he
fancy.
likes, right?
right.
Well,
Might
Cosmos,
as
just
well,
Yeah,
right?
you can
he's
think
got
of
really
him,
good
just
taste.
just think of it this way, Cosmos. Treat him like an Asian uncle, because that's what me and Reynold are the same. As we get older, we have our set routines, and exactly. I'm kind of like your
Yeah,
son. Like if
true.
I want a pizza, there's a specific pizza joint that I want to go to, and it has to be made specifically this way because that's how I like it. As I get older, I turn more and more into an uncle. Just think of your son as like turning into an uncle before the time comes, right? Like he's an early
Absolutely.
uncle.
Right. He is an old soul, so right. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Maybe he's a
Just treat him like
granduncle.
an uncle. You'll be fine.
exactly.
Oh, I do. I
Yes.
do. And you know what? What something that really helped me was I made the decision that unless it was harmful to life, like unless like an action that he was taking was either going to be harmful to himself or harmful to another human being, like a risk assessment, then I was just going to let it go. So, for example, like we were saying, about making noise in a restaurant. So the one day we went to the Italian restaurant, and he decided he wanted to blow bubbles in his drink with his straw. And it wasn't harmful to me, it wasn't harmful to him. It wasn't really harmful. It was a bit loud, but it wasn't really harmful to anyone else. So I just let that go, you know.
You
Whereas
articulated that so much better than I did. Yes, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at. Yes.
yeah. But then the other day we were traveling home on the bus, and we were on the back row, and he was getting quite fidgety because you know, he doesn't really like sitting still for long. And he was moving around on the back of the bus, and he was kind of pulling on those handles, you know, on the backs of the seat. But on one of those seats, there was someone sat on one of those seats. And I mean, yeah, not harmful, but that's, you know, going to really make that person's journey unpleasant. So that I explained that to him. And I just had to make sure that I was sat in that seat so he couldn't get to that, and he had kind of free run of the other seats. So that's kind of the difference between that's kind of how I assess things. You know, is this going to cause harm to anyone? If it isn't, just let it go. You know, pick your battles. If I don't have to have a battle about it, then I won't. But if there's any chance that someone could get harmed, then I'm going to have to find another way.
Yeah, good thing to keep in mind, right? Yeah. Reynold, what about you? Do you employ the same techniques?
Uh, yeah, I try to do the same thing. I just steer if something's gonna seem to be trouble, try to steer my son away from it, right? Or I know it's like back to sort of the example you're saying, like if I know going to certain restaurants or certain places is gonna just be problematic, I just don't go at all. So why even get into a situation um, that could be troublesome in the first place? So
Yeah, that's
I sort
smart
of
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So if I think it's an okay place, okay setting for us to go to, like where the people know us, or people will be considerate, or whatnot. Like say like church activities where we go to, or um, certain kids activity where sometimes even though he's autistic, he just blends in with the other kids because a lot of times when kids get together, when it's a kids event, right, all the kids just want to run around and you know cause trouble, right? So he's really just fitting in at that point. But say yeah, if we're going to eat at a nice restaurant and there's not a lot of kids, I mean, and then he's trying to um act up in the restaurant, then of course that's not a good setting for us. But hey, if it's like a kid's birthday party or something activity at the park or whatnot, it's a carnival. Hey, let's go to those places because that's where kids are meant to be kids. So I just sort of steer clear of places that sort of we might things might come up, and just stick with the places that are sort of safe to go to.
Yeah, I agree. Because you do that with non-autistic kids anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in life, this is basically what we decide on day by day by day. Like you know where you're going today, what event is happening, who you're going to be with. We make these decisions moment to moment, right? So yeah, you do that anyway. So yeah, that's just being smart, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So think
I,
before you leap, right?
yeah, a question that I've just popped into my head that I want to ask you, Reynold, is do you feel like you're always on high alert when you're out and about? Do you feel like for me, I always feel like I have to be constantly vigilant, and I'm always on like the maximum level of alertness. Like I don't know about other parents, whether they ever just sit back and relax and just let their kids get on with stuff, but I always feel like I have to be on the lookout for also like a million things, you know, whether my son is doing something or whether you know, whether it's not safe. So do you feel that way?
Yes, I always feel that way too, because there's two things going on with it. First, my son's autistic, right? So he might do things that are not proper or maybe dangerous at times. The second aspect is because I'm visually impaired. So that second anxiety that I have is because I can't visually see him, even though I'm in close proximity to him. So that's what's driving. I even have more anxiety when I'm out and about. So that's why, again, the choices of where we go is very crucial to me, because if I go certain places where I don't have a lot of community support, say if I'm not going to like church activity or like a kids activity where uh, like his Cub Scout activities, where there's other parents that know us, know my situation, that could help out in making sure he's safe and doing the right thing. It really relieves a little stress on that part. Of course, I'm still on a high alert because we're out and about. But especially at places where it's just me and him, like we're going to a mall, we're not going with anyone else, or there's times where I get take him to an amusement park, and then I'm on super high alert because there's so many factors that's going through my. I can't visually see clearly. I very low vision that I'm always scared. Like, okay, what is he doing? Like, if he's walking too far in front of me or something, is he? Um, and then also his actions, is he like doing something proper or not? There's so many times like did he, because he had for a while he had this tendency to, like, after he uses the restroom he doesn't pull up his pants. So I'm like, there's and then if we're out in public, it's like, oh, I didn't know if he pulled up his pants or not. So I'm like, I have to like really be critical about checking, hey, did you pull up your pants or not before we leave this restroom? So because he would just like, oh, just walk out like, hey, it's nonchalant. It's like, hey, this is, everything's cool. Like,
Well,
what's his pants down? I'm like, this is not right. But yeah, so yeah, for to answer your question, yes, I'm always on high alert on whenever we're out and about, especially if it was just me and him.
oh, I was laughing with you then because my son has a different idea about being about wearing clothes to not wearing clothes. Like in his mind, he can't understand why it's not okay to just be naked anywhere you
Mhm.
want. Like it doesn't make sense to him because he doesn't see anything wrong with the naked body. He doesn't understand why anything should be covered. It's very interesting. Obviously, he can't be naked when he goes out, but he can be naked as much as he needs to in the home. But and it's such a challenging thing to try to explain without kind of creating any shame around his body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's sort of a topic. It's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, you're supposed to keep your clothes on and stuff like that, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
why?
Why?
It's like,
Why?
exactly, why? It's like, yeah.
Guys, again, I just think that Cosmos's son just sounds like an uncle. Like, like he behaves like an uncle. Like,
Right. Everything's
like
optional.
yeah, like when I'm at home, like I want to take off my shirt, walk around with my undies, like I'm just
Right? Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
yeah.
oh man,
I see
that's
nothing wrong with
so
that.
right,
No.
exactly, right. Just be free, right? Just,
Nah,
I'm
but
always,
to get to all jokes aside though, like guys, it's really a challenge. Like I really commend you guys. It's not easy, especially for Reynolds' case. Like yeah, on top of having to watch out for him, you have to deal with your own blindness. So it's like on top of all that, right? It's not easy.
yeah.
So yeah, points to you guys
Everyone
for
has
that.
his challenge. Yeah, everyone has their challenges, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no matter if their kids are autistic or not, every parent struggles with the best way to raise their child right. To be honest,
Like yeah,
I feel.
Cosmos, like I always say, it's a brave parent that isn't on high alert when you go out. I mean, even for me, right? Like I don't have your challenges, and even for me, whenever we go out, I'm always on high alert. So like I'm really like, astounded by those parents who are so chill, when they go out, it's like, wow, you're not stressed out, and they're like, oh, just let them be, and I'm like, wow, I wish I could be like that, but no, like I'm constantly, like even if I'm talking to somebody, like one of my eyes is constantly looking at where my child is, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember, experiencing that when he was quite young, just suddenly being aware of like a million dangers that I would never have seen otherwise. We live by quite a big river. Um, and obviously there's roads and stuff like that. But for my son, he's 11, and I guess other 11-year-olds, they do walk around the village and they do cross the road alone, and they are able to go and play down the park, which isn't far from the river. But for my son, that isn't a possibility. He does need help crossing the road. Um, he can be very, very literal. He went to, I think you mentioned Cub Scouts or something earlier, but my son went, he tried those, and they were playing this game called Jump the River. And the game is actually jumping over a rope, but the name of the game is Jump the River. But they were playing Jump the River down the park next to the river. And for my son, like it didn't make sense for him to jump over a rope when they're saying, let's play jump the river. And so obviously he went to the river. He
Oh
didn't jump in,
no. Okay. Okay.
that
Yeah,
literal,
yes.
it's so literal. And yeah, so there are all sorts of things that I probably haven't even thought of. But you know what? He's survived this long and he seems to be doing great. But yeah, those things that other 11-year-olds can do,
Mm,
my son can't do yet. Um,
yes.
but um, but that's okay. Whenever we go out, that I do help him to focus on crossing the road. But the thing is, like he's has so many thoughts in his mind. His imagination is just constantly, imagining up things. And sometimes in crossing the road and road safety isn't a priority because he has all these other wonderful things on his mind. So, yeah, so safety for him, it's not necessarily always a priority if he's got other things to think about.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I think my son's that way too. He has so much other things when we're going over, like, because they're going through all these activities. They want us to go over like safety, like bullying or whatnot, or stranger danger, stuff like that. But um, I don't know. Sometimes it's like he hasn't experienced all this danger. Even just like when you teach him, oh, the stove is hot. Don't go play with the stove. But he has never burned himself on the stove, and then so he still thinks it's like, is that real or not? Right? He's still like, I never experienced this burning of the hand, and you're telling me that the stove is hot. Like he hasn't made those connections together yet.
No.
Guys, in some Asian societies, where you have a big family and even a big extended family, I think uh, it helps a lot, because you have other people who can be your eyes and ears and help with the care. I think
Right.
one of the disadvantages of modern society is that where we're starting to lose that extended family. It's in fact even the nuclear family is getting rare these days, right? So like on
Right.
top of all those things, you and Cosmos, you're both single parents. So the support group is really, has lessened a lot. Back in the day, because grandma, grandpa, all the cousins are around. In some Asian societies, if you have a child who has special needs, more people can help you look after that child, but you don't have access to that resource these days. So that's one thing we have to address. That's really unfortunate, right? The downside.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely a downside of everything. And one's life is so busy too. Even if they live under the same roof, everyone's still so busy that they they can't even help, even though they're maybe in a close proximity to each other.
Yeah, it wasn't always like that though. Like I remember growing up, there were more people around, just even neighbors, right? You have more
Mm.
friendly neighbors. They kind of
Yeah,
know your family, so they can look out for kids in the neighborhood. Some families, in fact, would move to a whole new different place just to find that better support group,
yeah,
right? So I think it's all about framing and accepting. I think setting realistic expectations, framing the situation correctly, and then deciding what to do after that. Like, okay, this is the situation. I have a child with special needs. Therefore, I think I need more support. And where can I find more support? And try to make decisions according to that, right? It's really not easy, but I think a good community does help.
yeah. Good community. I mean, there are support groups nowadays, so um, join a support group or something. So that's always sometimes
Or
useful
even
to
just a
know.
community of one, right? Cosmos, I'm sure you have a best friend or, just like good friends who are, who you can call upon, right? To help
Yeah,
out.
you need to have at least someone. What I will say is I find that for me, support doesn't really come from the family. It comes from friends, and also through like at the moment, my son is with a paid assistant. Yeah, you can't do it all on your own, basically. I've tried,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
it's impossible. And and it is difficult. Like I don't live near family, but like I mentioned earlier on, family don't always agree with how you're raising or how I'm raising my
Yes.
child. So even if you do have family close, if they're not on board with you, or if they're not willing to learn about how to be with your autistic child, then even if you do have family close, if they're, if they're not fully supportive of you and everything you're doing, it can often be unhelpful to have the support from the family anyway. So, and I hear it all the time, especially with grandparents, grandparents not really being able to understand an autistic child and their behavior and why they can't be disciplined and it seems to be like a common theme, not just in my family with my in-laws. But so yes, I think support is wonderful, but it has to be supportive. It has to be in line with my values and my parenting. Otherwise, it's going to create chaos.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get help where we can, right? Yeah.
Mm,
So,
exactly. Yeah. If it's not with the family, it's
yeah.
somewhere out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Just got to find what works for you.
Yes, exactly. So definitely. Uh, but yeah, but well, thank you so much, Cosmos, for coming on and talking about all this. I definitely learned a lot, and I feel like it made me feel like I'm not alone in all this. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm just alone, like I'm just me, myself, and I. Who else is going through this? But I feel like um, hearing you talk really really helps that hey, there's other people going through the same thing out there.
Yeah, and hopefully everyone, people who listen to this podcast, they're going to get that same feeling because that feeling of isolation, like there's, that there's no one to help me, and I have to do all this alone. It's crippling, and
Yes.
it's that feeling of connection. And even if it's not like a direct support, it's just knowing that I'm not the only one going through this or having these feelings or have these worries or have made these mistakes, that's helpful. So yeah, grateful to have been able to speak on here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And then usually, oh, I sort of skip. Usually we have like a sort of a nugget of wisdom at the end, sort of take home message. You sort of shared a lot of. Is there anything else particular that you want to share, like sort of a wrap it all up, take home message for everyone out there?
I would just say, just trust your gut. and trust the universe, and everything's going to work out for the best.
Huh, great. That's definitely definite advice I'll take. How about you, Vic? Anything for today?
Mm, just treat your autistic children like their uncles. I think
Oh, so so
that
true.
would help really.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
right.
the more I learn from you guys, the more I think to myself, it sounds a lot like me actually. I don't know. It just sounds like just treat him like a 40-year-old uncle, and you'll be okay. You know, just make sure he's not hungry. You know, let make sure that you talk to him, give him lots of love. Hey, it's all good, right? He'll be
Right,
fine.
exactly. Or
Yeah,
maybe,
love is the
or
answer.
yes, or maybe uh, uncles grow into being autistic. So maybe it's all right. The older we get, the more
The
uncle we
older,
get, the
the
more
more autistic we
autistic we
get.
get,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true. Oh boy.
Uh, but thank you again, Cosmos, for coming on. Uh, yes, definitely try to do this again. But again, thanks everyone for joining us. Please like and subscribe, and remember, sharing is caring. And stay tuned and come back for the next episode.